I believe we are live. I hope so. Haven't done a live show in over a month. So when you come in, let me know that you can hear me, whoever is coming in. And perhaps what I will do is go ahead and sign on with my phone for a moment just to make sure that I am. Because I say I haven't been on here in a long time live, and it's always quite a quest at times. So we're going to make sure that we are doing so. Let's see. Alrighty. And as you come on, if you're in, just pop in and say that you can hear me. Sometimes I can't hear, even though I'm looking. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to see you. I haven't done this in over a month. I needed to take a break because just trying to do too many things, and it's in my nature once I start podcasting to go in, as they say. So my notes for today. Let me make sure everybody uh, on Facebook knows that I'm in here. I hope you're doing well. Yes, there's one that's sitting there, and as usual, I always try to come up with an original topic because it's great to have original ideas, So often this one came about as I was just chilling out, talking with neighbors. And then this topic kind of swirled up in my head today, actually, a few days ago. One of the things we want to keep in mind is that I'm not a newbie to the scene of podcasting. I've been podcasting as far back as 2006. Yeah, I started podcasting in 2006. So that's what, 19 years. I've been on everything from Justin TV to Ustream, Livestream, Mogulus, which then was called Livestream. Now it's under another name. Facebook, a lot. I have over 300 plus videos sitting up here on my Facebook channel. This is Resident Essentials YouTube channel that I'm on right now. I've been a spiritual counselor since the 1980s. I'm a founder of the Circle of Grace One, which is named after the first Grace, my biological mom, my first metaphysical and spiritual teacher, who I refer to as Mother Grace. And that was founded promptly right after I got out of college. 1 month later, graduated from college, Bard College back there, June 1st, which was, I believe, a Saturday of 1974. And then a month and a day later, I came aboard with my mother giving me like a candle in my hand and said, this is your time. I said, what do you mean? But I was supposed to carry out, the disciplines in the way that she taught them. And she wasn't harsh with them. She taught them in a very relaxed and loose manner. And that's how I teach, with a lot of laughter. So I, founded the Circle of Grace One in her honor uh, back on July 2nd of 1974, and it's still kicking strong. The only thing I've done is taken my website down for a while because it's just a lot to try to keep up with the website and podcasting. So when I find a better website, or I might go back to the same place that hosted it, I don't know yet. But I needed to take it down for a while. Well, anyway, this particular topic, in fact, this podcast is number 231. Can you imagine? That's 40 years of podcasting almost every day, but mostly here for Resident Essentials YouTube channel. And this is for Resident Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics that I'm doing this for. So usually Thursdays is my day to be on around 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, what I'm looking to do here with Clear Blue Radiance, this particular topic is it possible for us to remain real? Now, with the inception of copying material from in human form from other humans and non-humans using artificial intelligence, which is okay, or other means to forget that we are, because sometimes we get a little too deep into it. Let me see here. Seems like my sinus wants to run. It's the weather out here in the Southwest. Excuse me. So sometimes we can get deeply involved. Now, I have to admit, there has been a lot of things out here for us to utilize. So I'm not harping against artificial intelligence, because a long time ago we didn't have any of this. We didn't have a desktop, a laptop, cell phone, or known as a mobile phone. I think back in the 70s, I had a couple of uncles that had car phones, and I thought that was kind of crazy. But nonetheless, they were there. We didn't have television like we have it today. We didn't have an internet that everybody could use worldwide. That's why it's called the World Wide Web. So we didn't have a lot of that, right? We didn't even have cordless phones. I don't think I had I believe we had a cordless phone, or at least a phone with a extremely long coiled cord that could go like what, 20 feet. You could be outside talking to the neighbor across the street or a friend down the block or whatever. But these inventions came about to help us establish ourselves in a completely different way. And it was all good that we had the cordless phone. Then we went to the wireless phone, right? And you remember back in the day, you had a flip phone. You open it up. Now the flip phones are back, but a higher technical uh, software in which you can now just fold it in half. Those are mainly not iPhones. Those are the what do they call them? Android phones. Close them up, right? So it's like a huge index card that you're walking around with. And then you had those antennas that you had to be careful because you could bend them, break them. So even back in the what 20s and the 30s and the 40s, they had telexes. I remember my dad telling me about, without saying too much, that there were special phones used in the army during the war, and they carried them around in a thin or thick suitcase, like a tache case, and they would open it up. Now the only thing was they had to unreel the wire, and they're at the campsite, but they had to run the wire to the tallest tree. And that soldier ran with two gunners next to him, making sure that he can get safely to the tree and begin to wrap the coil, climb up as high as he could, and begin to wrap the copper coil down the tree, and then head back to the camp. These things did exist during that time. Then they could make a call from Italy back to America. Can you imagine that? A person running with two soldiers on one on each side to make sure he gets to the tree, to the lip of the forest, go up, climb up, and start wrapping this thing as he's coming down. And then they get back safely. So there have been many things that have popped up, many, many things. And then after that, you had the regular standard phones at home. You had the phone at the soda shop, at the back of the restaurant. You had phones in the hallway of apartment buildings. Some some places could afford to have them on every floor, depending on how high the apartment building was. But the only thing was that is if you were expecting a call, suppose you way down the other end, you don't know, you have to come up. You'd have to come up the hall to be where you needed to be. And then, of course, the pay phones outside. And how was that? I remember you stick a nickel in, and then you hear the operator come on. How can I help you? And then you tell them where. I remember being in Hempstead, Long Island, New York, where I grew up, and the call letters were IV. So we had 516 IV. And for a long time, I didn't know what IV meant until I used to watch an old black and white TV show, and it was supposed to have been these during the Renaissance time, and the name of the character was called Ivanhoe. Then it clicked in. That's Ivanhoe. And I said, well, who in this area, what community would have Ivan? Never could figure that part out. But that's how our phone number started out. So that means the I was a 9, right? And then the V was probably in the neighborhood of a also a 9, possibly. So we had to like deal with that kind of situation, trying to figure out how to place these calls through using coins. Then we got to the flip phone. Then we got to the straight back phone. It didn't flip at all. It was just straight, right? And then you were lucky because now the antenna wasn't long. It was really tiny. It was about the size of this pen top right here. That was the antenna. And that was better because you didn't have to worry about it breaking. So why am I bringing all this stuff up? These old forms of communication, and of course, we still have newspapers, magazines, and now you got newspapers that you can read online, magazines that you can read online. Or you're engrossed like I get sometimes. I need to do a crossword puzzle just to get away from being bombarded by a whole bunch of news. Because now we almost can't get away from the news. If you're an Apple user, I know some Apple users, not only do they have the Apple iPhone, they have the watches. I have a friend back east. She's using her watch. And where did I get that concept or saw that concept for the first time? Sunday Comics with Dick Tracy talking through his watch. Then you saw it also in other means, in comic books, characters talking through their watch, talking through their pen, talking through their tie tack, using the earrings. All these things were mentioned. As children, we were reading it, but we didn't see it physically. Communication. Communication is highly important. Without communication, there are no real true friendships, connections to family members, boyfriends, girlfriends, life mates. You just don't have it. You don't see it. You never get a chance to experience it. So often the body and the mind need to be active and fluid with energy. That's very important. I'm going to use a meditation at the end of this so that you really begin to release and increase at the same time. But they both need moderation. We need to have moderation with our body. We're not supposed to overload our body. I know. That's why I gave up a lot of live podcasts that I was doing, pre-recorded podcasts, because I was just literally blowing myself out trying to do too many things. So I needed to let my body rest. Now that I got my weight down, got my weight back in control, now I could do more work for myself energetically. and put forth information energetically. So we also have to do what? Relax this. This works over time, just like your organs. Your heart is pumping blood through the body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this is nonstop. The body is constantly in motion internally. The brain is constantly working itself out. So right now, we're in this beta format. I'm talking to you because I'm awake and you're awake and you're watching and you're tuning in and you're listening to me. But when you fall off to sleep at night, you're unaware that this is still going on. It has a certain hertz frequency. When is somebody really asleep? When they're in the alpha range. And that alpha range could be anywhere from 10, 11 hertz cycle, 13, all the way up to twice that, 26, where the person can still be somewhat awake, but the body is asleep. And now people have many, shortcuts to doing meditation. I see it all the time. And some people say, well, you need to do this, 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 and take 3 or 4 breaths, and boom, you're done. Not always. Not everybody can do that. Especially if you have some people who are thinkers all the time, who are always constantly thinking. Do you know that there's a lot of people walking around you who are depressed? So they may try to do meditation. And don't worry, I've been there. I've been moments in my earlier years where I was angry, I was depressed, I was moody, and I was trying to do meditation. And I was losing. The moodiness was winning, the angriness was winning, the mood swings were winning, the depression was winning, but I wasn't winning with meditation. So I had to learn how to divorce myself from negative thinking, negative acting people, my own negative actions or responses to whatever they were doing toward me. I had to get away from worry and anxiety. I had to like literally stop. Sometimes I would be so bothered that I would call up a friend and say, look, I'm having a hard time at the candle shop today. Can you just send me some energy? I'm being bombarded by negativity. And the person would say, I got you. And I would often wonder, after about 5, 10 minutes, I felt great. I said, what were they doing that they could connect with me that fast where nothing was bothering me? Now, 10 years later, I knew what was going on and how to help people. I knew how to help somebody in miles away from me dealing with a negative partner, negative family members, where I could put that energy out there and let them feel that energy in some kind of way and let them begin to experience negative activity slide away. People constantly bombarding them couldn't bombard them anymore. But then I had to tell them to, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to teach you how to do it so that they could feel empowered, because that's the most important part. If you're going to teach somebody, the student must become empowered by whatever you're teaching them. And then at some point, you got to take maybe your particular technique that's considered private and refashion it a different way. It's like clothing. They can now put on the clothes or the white robe meditation or pink robe meditation or drink. Every time they see pink lemonade, they're becoming blissful. They're having more love happening in their heart. So there are different things, different techniques that we begin to develop. It is important. Our bodies and our minds are like highways. Energy is flowing up and down through the fascia, underneath the skin, all the time. So we have to find a way to get inside the body, and meditation is one of the ways. A deep rooted massage is a way. for that to happen as well. You find a good massage person, good mechanics, understanding the muscle structure of any physical body and the skeletal structure and the nerve system, and they can go to work on you. And by the time you get up and go out, you feel great. You might get to your car and fall asleep. You might get to the subway platform and fall asleep right there. Why? Because the massage got you that relaxed, got all that energy, that negative, stiff, boiling energy up out of your body. Or maybe you found a good acupuncture person and they're well skilled. So they don't have to utilize your whole body. They'll tell you the whole ear is like the fetal position of a baby, and they got all the points right there. And in 10 minutes, you're you're on Zoom Street. You're feeling fantastic. So there are different things that happen. And so what I wanted to bring out was how many times do we see our neighbors? Because it's related to the topic. Is it possible for us to remain real? How many times do we see our neighbors or even know them without getting caught up in our own lives? So there might be many of you out there that will be tuned into this later, and you might live like I do. I'm in a senior apartment complex. It's so quiet here. I don't even see half the people that I met the first time when I moved here. And there's one guy in my building. He and I are the same though. He's very much into sports, so he's watching his sports channel. But I tell you, I see him at least once a month. I might see him once every 6 weeks because he'll come out and he'll go for a walk. But that's about it. But it's cool when I see him. In fact, we joked about it the other day when I was with these other neighbors. And other neighbors, after he and I disconnected, and after I came back, um, I noticed something. But I want to continue with this line. I, meaning myself, I don't look past my place, or sometimes I'm not inquisitive about my neighbors at times. We all go into that moment where we feel like we're in a cocoon, so we don't want to actually connect with people. And that's an okay thing as well. It's not always healthy all the time to do that because sometimes you need to know how your neighbors are. And 2 years ago, I had a neighbor live next door to me. The guy was 55. He just, because this is a 55 plus building, the guy was 55 years old, had a little, I think he had what's that dog? A corgi? Yeah, he had a corgi with him. And I would see him in the street. I might see him at a cafe occasionally. We run into each other. But one day, he was a heavy breather, and I knew something was off because the dog was barking relentlessly. So I don't want to turn this into a sad story, but sometimes if you're not inquisitive enough, somebody goes through something and you can't help. So I always say to my students, off and on, to my relatives, and especially to my nieces who have their own families. I always tell my nieces, get to know your neighbors. Get to know who's on either side of your house and who is across the street. And there's a reason for that, in case something should happen. Now, sometimes we assume that everybody's doing well. Now, most younger people have it easier. They like to socialize. The boys like to get out there and rap with the young ladies, hitting on them with what they think is appropriate things, and sometimes it's not appropriate. We know we've all been there. So usually the quiet person can get more traction than the person who talks a lot. But sometimes we just need to let our guard down. We need to take off the shields off the heart a little bit and we need to engage. Now, even if you're not someone who likes to talk a lot, or you're not someone, you don't have to share your personal affairs, but have a genuine heart to heart, simple as can be, talk. And people always say, some of my spiritual daughters back east in New Jersey, they say, "Why you go out so much to have a bite to eat?" I said, "It's not to having the bite to eat. Sometimes I feel like the guy in the old TV show Cheers. Remember the guy that was called Norm, played the character Norm? Whenever Norm walked in, everybody said, 'Hey, Norm.'" But sometimes I go someplace, a Pacific place that I like, not far from me. I can literally take the bus and be there in 8 minutes. But when I go there, it's funny because they know me as Reverend Francis. And how do they know me as Reverend Francis or Francis? One of the waitresses that I met for the very first time, I was led to give her my card. I don't know why. Someone said, "Give her your card." 3 weeks later, when I ran into her again in that same restaurant, cafe, a grill, and it was a madhouse. I mean, it was crowded, wall to wall people. I walked in, she saw me, she said, "Hi, Reverend Francis." And I'm like, wow. And everybody's head turned. Oh, look at, like, "You're a reverend? You're not wearing a reverend's collar." I said, "Yeah." "Are you a reverend?" They said, "Yeah." "Well, you're not wearing a tie nor a collar. You don't have to wear it. You just have to let the energy ooze out of you and be it." So she did her homework because her husband was coming over to me asking things about numerology and dreams when he would have a short break. So I know that she took advantage of that opportunity to get into that website, but she took advantage of getting to know me, not just a regular person coming in to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner whenever I felt like it. She just knew that I wasn't your normal person, your regular personality. So sometimes we have to leave our premises to socialize. It could be a library. Now, that's kind of hard because they want you to be quiet. So usually the next best thing is a bookstore. You can get in the bookstore a little bit, chit chat, maybe go to a book reading or book signing. That helps you. But anyway, you have to get out and about in order to communicate. So this is a part of the topic. And the topic is it possible for us to remain real? Now that could go all over the place, right? Some people have a hard time being real, or they may not understand what real is. So we had some synonyms, if I'm saying it right, synonyms. Genuine is one word, pure is one word, being honest is another. But we're in a world where we can see a lot of dishonesty happening. We can see a lot of imposters, people faking the real them, which is could be a negative person, mean spirited person, and they're out there pretending to be the opposite of that because they're wanting people to love them in a certain way, but not really see who they are. So this is what happened to me. This is how I kind of got into this topic. And this was definitely last week after I saw my neighbor that's in my building. A couple of us after I got back from wherever I went. I think it's probably like a Walgreens or something. And they kind of waved me over and said, "Hey, I hadn't seen you in a long time." And I haven't seen them either. It's been like maybe 2 or 3 months. And you know what people kept people at home? COVID did. COVID kept people indoors. So what happened was we were sitting on this bench. It was myself and two other people, and someone had like a walker. We're sitting there and we noticed something on the ground. Now, usually most people will look at the ground because they're seeking, sometimes they run across something that's interesting. In this case, it wasn't a coin, It wasn't a billfold, it wasn't a dollar bill or five crushed into the ground. What it was an old piece of paper. And this old piece of paper had an image scribbled on it. But we had to look a little closer. So how do we get this thing out of the street? Well, one of us had something like a toothpick. We worked around it and we pulled it up. And so what it wasn't a scribbled image. It was a US postage stamp. That means this stamp, it was on a card that hadn't been even mailed, because you'll see the prints. If it's been mailed, you'll see the stamp. So that means someone, it dropped out of someone's pocket, out of the car, but now it was very dirty. The image was stained with oil, dirt, and whatever else, along with tire marks. So that's how long this thing had been sitting there. It made us, though, reminisce about how fast life is going for us as seniors. Yeah, I'm 73, and often I start reflecting. What happened in my 60s, in my 50s, in my 40s, in my 30s? Like, sometimes I go back and I reflect on my moments in high school. Reflect on my moments when I played in an R&B group in my senior year, and those guys that I played with, they were in another town. But the two guys, brothers, younger brothers, that most of them were younger than me, except for the lead singer. He was older, but their parents knew my parents, so it made it very unique connection. Not just one parent, a lot of parents involved, so that we were always doing the right thing, being right places, and carrying ourselves, or learn how to carry ourselves professionally. So, what was going on during this time? I was reflecting, and here we were as seniors, and all of this took place in an hour. Not 2 or 3 hours, it took place in an hour. We talked about, as much as we could, the improvement of life for disabled vets, disabled people, period. And then the conversation jumped into Special Olympics. And someone in the group knew someone who had a daughter that long ago participated in the 1984. They had a Special Olympics, I think, back as far back as that. But it was a unique conversation because here we were as seniors. And what was the age? The age was minimum 70, 71, and I'm 73. So I was considered a little older. And the oldest person in the group that has been in these apartments a long time, that person was 86. But yet we were having a conversation on many different levels. And what we missed the most was the culture of being present for each other. So we realized that sometimes when we're in our own little worlds up here and not in the heart, we miss that activity of calling up a friend, calling a relative, a sibling, calling an elder than yourself that may be still on the planet, just to see how they're doing. And we know that this is significant because there are many people who are alone. I mean, really alone. They have no one to talk to. And when you do see them, you see them occasionally. Like I see some people on this floor, and I see them maybe once a month, twice a month. Maybe they're throwing garbage out or something. Or they're like me waiting across the street, around the corner across the street for a bus. But it's rare when we run into each other long enough to have a conversation. So I suggest that you call family, friends, whomever, wherever they are, just to check in on them. Sometimes I write letters. I don't type them out on my computer. Take a little time and I write in script or I print as clear as I can a letter. And I don't make it like a short letter. I make it like front and back and then another page. Now, why would I do that? Well, often, sometimes when a person gets a card, if they're not in the cards, they just get the card and just lay it on the table, lay it on their desk, flick it into the bedroom. But when it's a letter, and especially if they haven't heard from you in a while, and you do these every now and then. In fact, to give you an idea, uh, before COVID hit, just before COVID hit, I sent at least 25 letters out into Rio Rancho area, Albuquerque, because Albuquerque is huge here. I mean, it's so big you can stick Brooklyn in Albuquerque, and you still got room. So, so I was writing to people. I wrote to a lot of my spiritual daughters and sons at that time. I wrote letters to my nieces and nephews. They said, "Oh, Uncle Frank, why are you writing?" I said, "Why not?" When you think of it, what happens to people now? You can go online and pay your bills. You can go to your mailbox in your house, in front of your house, and all you see is junk mail and bills, lots of bills. So wouldn't it be nice when I write a letter to somebody that they can see, oh, this is from Brother Francis. What is he writing about? And I might give them a little short update of how I'm doing, but I want to know how they're doing. And when I did that the year before COVID, not only did I send out 25 letters here, but I sent letters all over the United States. I had some friends up in Chicago, Illinois. I wrote them. I had friends beyond my youngest niece being in Oakland, California. I had other friends in California. Beyond my oldest niece and her family, husband, and their grown children and their grandchildren, I had sent letters not only to them and the little ones too, because wow, they got a letter from Uncle Frank. And we're zooming each other, right? So I got a chance to spread some joy. That's what it's about. Spread some joy. I have a Jewish friend. I've known her for years. Um, Occasionally, she goes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan, and anything connected to Egypt, so she and I have that past life connection from Egypt, she'll send me things. It's like it's great to get mail, so I suggest that you mail. Whoever starts to watch this later, I hope that you take it upon yourself to write a letter to a friend because you never know what's happening with them. Some people never get any mail, never get a phone call. Somebody doesn't knock on their door just to make sure they're still on the planet. So, doing a good deed like sending out a card or a short letter is very helpful. So, it was very interesting. But then the conversation fell into people not being real with each other. And we see that all the time. I've been in these apartments since 2018, and I never experienced being in a private house. Well, you get your gossipers and nosy neighbors, but I never experienced the quote unquote apartment cop. I'm glad that I'm in the building that I am in because I'm not in another building where there's a lot of those people like that. So these are the people who aren't being real for whatever it means to them. They are aware that they are unhappy, and sometimes that old cliche pops in: misery keeps company. So they're miserable, and when they're in touch with you and you're happy, they want to make you miserable too. And sometimes this is hurting because I've said things to certain people here, not talking about anybody really. I've said things to some people beyond my apartment, and I hear it from somebody else. And it's very interesting because the people who you leave certain information with and it pops up someplace else across the complex, then you learn, well, you don't tell that person that because they just like to tell people stuff. But what it amounts to is there are many apartment cops. There's one, at least one in every building. And that one has many people to talk to. So one or two people can mushroom up to about, out of 164 units here, with most of them with two people in them, that can amount to what? Over hundreds of people observing and talking about you. And most of the time, it's stuff that's made up. And so these things also happen in the corporate world. Happens all the time. What we have to do is not pay too much attention to it. Shield the heart. If you're a very sensitive person, shield your heart. What's that phrase? Sometimes you work at places and you got to have a thick skin. You can't let people's egos cut you, their negativity cut you or hurt you. So you got to have a thick skin where it bounces off of you. But here's another thing: when we are not happy, or when we switch to being depressed and moody, while others go about pretending to be someone else, because these things happen. Either you become moody, or you become depressed, or you become this person, this hermit in a shell, and you're not happy. So over time, you become moody, and over time, you become angry. And then someone who doesn't need to receive any of that negativity from you gets it because it's coming off of you. It's coming from here. Now, there are people who are pretending to be someone else to save themselves, to change their life. So that would be the phrase that Reverend Ike used to say. Sometimes you need to fake it until you make it. So you might pretend not to be like a Reverend Ike or Michael Beckwith or a Florence Scovel Shinn or Cynthia James. Cynthia James is a very prominent um, spirit of a spiritual minister who works in the Ernest Holmes teachings. She's written a couple of books. So she's an Asiatic woman, Moorish, not Moorish American. She doesn't claim that, but she's his Asiatic sister, and I think she's out of Denver, Colorado, and she teaches quite well. I think she wrote a book on shamanism recently. Cynthia James. She's with the Ernest Holmes Teaching Center of Spiritual Living, they call it now. Michael Beckwith calls his the Agape International Spiritual Center. It's the same thing. All of them are using the teachings of Ernest Holmes. The only difference is Michael Beckwith creates some of his based on those teachings. So you have a full presence of the energy. Well, anyway, the people who are faking it till they can make it are striving to become more positive for themselves and positive for other people. But what we were talking about was how life is gradually spinning into being a sense of real versus unreal. So if you think about that for a moment, real versus unreal. Even in the word real, the suffix al means the. It's like a rank, it takes you higher. But so does the word with the prefix in it, re or ray. Re means to repeat as well as elevate. So the word real, if you're striving to be real, you're striving to rise above mediocrity, rise above the norm, rise above negative frequencies and vibrations. That's when we say you're being real in that positive sense. The flip side of that coin, someone can really show you who they are by being what? The opposite of positive, being mean spirited and negative. So you see both out there. Many of us have yearned to imitate people we see on television and movies, we hear about on radio, people who are on stage, a theatrical stage or a performing arts group or something. We did that as children. We were looking for a role model, someone we could follow. Often we didn't have many. But then, as we grew up and interacted through our families with our neighbors and so forth, we found somebody in the neighborhood, surrounding neighborhood, that helped us become a better person, helped us put us on the path along with our parents to be better. As they say, be a great citizen. But I say go beyond citizenship. Here's a movie that will probably can be used in this context. How many of you remember or no, he didn't pass yet, the comedian Eddie Murphy? Eddie Murphy. He played many roles, like Professor Clump, that character, and some of the other characters within that Professor Clump family. He played a lot of roles there. I think his most significant role playing characters was in a movie scene in a barbershop. And the movie was called Coming to America, where he and James Earl Jones was in that movie, and also Arsenio Hall was in that movie with him. But there's a barbershop scene. He's supposed to be in Queens, and Eddie Murphy is playing almost all of those characters, from the barbers, the two barbers, to the man in the hat, to the people getting the haircut, to the people sitting on the side playing chess. That's probably about 5 or 6 different characters, of course with the makeup, but he was playing all of those different roles. And I remember seeing the movie for the first time, didn't even realize it was him. I thought it was different characters. So that's something to bring a little joy into this message. When COVID-19 hit across America, most people were masked up. Most people. You couldn't read anyone's facial expressions when they had the mask, especially if the mask went all the way up to here. You couldn't tell what the facial expression was. You had to go by a person's body language, tone and inflection of their voice to understand what was it they were trying to express. The mask was muffling the tone. And many times we would misread people, unless you had a heightened sense of awareness, meaning that you had to be very empathic, very psychic to some extent, and also intuitive. You had to be that in order to communicate with someone with a mask on. Because you could say something, but you can't tell if they're frowning, you can't tell if they're angry. And if they had the ones that were a little harder in shape, you definitely couldn't tell if they're sticking their tongue out at you, if they're saying something very negative to you, like kind of lip reading it. So you couldn't lip read the person. These things happened during the time of COVID. Most people had to stay indoors. I ventured to go out as much as possible. Why? Because I didn't need to be indoors. I can be an indoors person. I'm a quiet guy, but I can also socialize as well. So I ventured out. So what is to be real? What does that mean? To be real is being genuine, being honest, being original, being pure in your nature as who you are, and authentic. Being authentic is very, very important. We look around us, except for twins and quadruplets and triplets, everybody is different. Some people do look like mom, some people look like their fathers. That's evident. You can see in certain families there's a certain look, especially when they come in as babies. There's a certain look. Wow, this looks like this one, looks like this one, looks like this one within a family. But to be authentic, to be real, to be honest, to be a person with integrity is 180 degrees opposite of a person being dishonest, being phony, pretending to like you, but they really don't, pretending to respect you, but they really don't. Then there's the copycats. In this field, I experience them all the time. I have people come to my Saturday meditation who just want to see who I am. They're not interested in really getting to know who I am as a meditation teacher. I got my own concepts of meditation. And many of those people say, well, you need to come to Zen. You need to learn Zen. And then I have to tell them, you need to get my first book. Why? Because in my first book, I mentioned I've gone to Zen halls. I did Zen halls when I was out of college. I was in Zen halls. Not wanting to be a Zen monk, I was invited because some of the students who were my Tai Chi students back then when I taught Tai Chi, but also who were into meditation, who were open toward different styles of meditation, they would talk about me to their master Zen teachers. And they said, well, hey, invite him to the Zen hall in Manhattan where I could meet him. And I'd go to the Zen hall. I don't remember all the teachers. I don't remember the masters, but I remember their presence, the way they carried themselves. And people say, oh, I'm not into psychic stuff. Well, people who meditate, most people are, or they become sensitive to environments and people and the energy that comes off of somebody. The Zen master that I went to the Zen school, he said, you look just like I felt you. That was like an honor. He was being honest. He's coming from his heart. We talked a little bit, and I sat in one of those classes on a Saturday. To me, it was a little on the boring side because I don't just like to sit and sit and sit and sit. I like to, within myself, be in motion. But it was good for me to experience. So often I'll have people show up. They don't come back after 3 or 4 classes because they realize I joke a lot in my class. I learn to joke in my class because that's how I know if a person is interested or not. That's how I also know if a person is a teacher or not, or practitioner. And how can I tell? Well, it's the same thing. They walk in and they're trying to see everything. They're trying to remember everything that they see. And then when I'm in meditation, I, for myself, have to keep my energy wide open for my students, but shield it at the same time. Because those who come to my class who don't know who I am or they think they're competing with me, they want to tune into me. They don't understand that's a form of spiritual rape. That's like someone going into a changing room and someone has a camera in a changing room because they want to scope somebody out sexually. It's the same thing. They don't understand that's what they're doing, but it's the same mindset. So here's what's necessary for us to know. Most people who are in that state of mind, who want to take something from you, they're not being real. And then they have that unreal side that creeps up on them. They're not very happy people, or they're very self centered people. Many are wearing a mask, you see, to cover up their true feelings and true thoughts. And we can see it at that a person is doing that. People in your family can wear a mask too. They can smile at you all day long, but beneath that smile, like that. Then you got some people who don't show you any facial appearance, very stoic look, because that's what they want to do. And you see it peel off of them all the time. So you have neighbors, you got coworkers, you got bosses, you got people who think they know who you are, so they try to upset you by being realer than you are. Hey there, brother. Sometimes they try to upset you by pretending to be like you, or just a straight out bully. There's bullies in the corporate world, there's bullies in the small corporate world, there's bullies in the banks. You work with them all the time. Bullies in factories, children being bullied all the time. It's relentless. But they learn that from who? Sometimes from siblings, their neighbors, their friends, and sometimes from their parents. So parents, you got to carry yourself in a certain way so that your children become better than what you're doing. So that they know that there's an opportunity for them to increase themselves, to become more powerful at who they are. So these things happen. You got the unreal and you got the real. So this topic is it possible for us to remain real? So there might be many of us that are already just real as you can get, but we don't know how to maybe elevate the mind, elevate the spirit of the body so that there could be more of that. So I teach people with my meditations to have a breakthrough. I was going to write this all the way out, but what I decided to do is I've got some keywords in place for myself. But first of all, let me state this, and it's directly from my notes. Meditation helps you in working through the many layers within your mind and body that you continue to hold on to. Let me say that again. Meditation helps you in working through the many layers within your mind and body you continue to hold on to. So sometimes people hold on because they're afraid, they're fearful about how others are viewing them, how others are talking about them. People are holding on because they have nothing else to hold on to, because much has been released or not released, taken away from them through various means. Sometimes life snatches things back. So people are holding on too tight. And this is why when you commit yourself to meditation, a meditation practice on a daily basis, now that doesn't mean you got to sit down, park yourself on the couch and sit. You can be walking around with the TV set completely off and maybe some jazz playing in the background, but at a very, very low volume so you can just barely hear it. You can play meditation music loud if you want, but it works best when you can just barely hear it. Why? Because when you want to do something like go off to sleep, your energy can be raised because you're not trying to control anything. You're relaxing into the music. That's important. But what are some of the things that we find ourselves beginning to release, let go of Well, you find yourself releasing worry, doubt, hurt, pain, depression, mood swings, anger. That anger can be self inflicted anger, or you angry because somebody's bothering you. Then there's addictive patterns of thinking that go on up here. Then there's emotional imbalances, which then can drop down into the body deeper where it becomes a physical ailment, an illness. So this is why we have to uproot all that stuff. Just like you got a shovel, you got to shovel out some of that gunk you got inside. It's got to get out of your system. And it doesn't happen overnight because you can be a person like me meditating for 50 years and find out you got some gunk still sitting there somewhere. And you don't experience the gunk until someone gets in your space and uproots the gunk for you to see it. It could be your own gunk, or it could be your gunk tied up with somebody else's gunk, but you know it's there because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Just like we taste food that's bitter, that's sour, that's spoiled, and you spit it out. Then you got to rinse your mouth out. You got to do all that stuff. It's not, see, meditation is something that you have to, I won't say put the word religion into it, but religion is habitual rituals and ceremonies. So you got to do your meditation in a way so that you are seated in the energy of your meditation. Just like if you were someone that was involved in martial arts, and I don't care if it's capoeira, if it's tai chi, if it's qigong, if it's 99 systems and movements from a Shaolin, Northern Shaolin school, which is all fists and upper body, or Southern Shaolin monk school, which is all legs and feet. It doesn't matter. At some point, you got to get in the saddle and practice enough every day where you decide, well, I notice I get up very early in the morning and I didn't take a shower yet, but I'm just still sitting there. I notice, oh, I get up early enough in the morning, I'm taking a shower and everything, but hmm, there's this big gap before I go have breakfast. So guess what? Good time to meditate. If you notice, you got 15 minutes in the morning somewhere, 30 minutes in the morning somewhere, there's nothing going on before you get on the subway, bus, train, or get in your car to get to those points. Meditate. Absorb that open time to allow yourself to begin to practice daily your meditation. Or an hour before you have dinner when you're home, meditate. You might say, well, I got to prep food. So now you prep food a day in advance. Prep. All during the weekend, prepping food. Why? Because now when you come home from work, maybe that's the only time you can meditate. So you come home, take your shower, do what you got to do, clean, take off your work clothes, so to speak, and relax and go into meditation. In other words, establish a habit that works for you. You can get into meditation. I've been doing it now since 1971. So guess what? And it's been off and on in between sometimes where I couldn't meditate for a week, depending on where I lived. But this is what I learned. Here in the body, you can envision in the body yourself an image of yourself in meditation. And what happens when you do that? You trigger the cellular memory. My good brother Holly Hemmett says many people hold on because change scares them and fear is more familiar than peace. Yes, it's an addiction. We become addicted to fear instead of peace. So these things are happening all the time. So I want to share a creative pathwork meditation with all of you. And this is also for people who will join on later. This meditation, at least the heart of this meditation, is about internal reflection to release, reveal, and be real. Internal reflection to release, mean let go of the reins, not trying to hold on to anything tightly, just loosen up, release. Then something is revealed to you. You get a chance to see yourself on a completely different level. And then you become real in what you discover. Imagine seeing a reflection of yourself in a mirror. Mirror. So take a moment and just breathe. Allow yourself to relax in all the breathing that you do. In the beginning, inhaling through the nose and letting it out through your mouth. Again, inhale and exhale. Again, inhale through the nose, and now I want you to focus on that point beneath your navel, right there. That's the lower dantian, or second chakra. Lower dandrian, that's the sacral energy. And I want you to put your focus there as you exhale. And you're not just pushing the breath toward that point. Imagine yourself on the other side of the point, pulling it in with a silk cord, just pulling it in. Inhaling one hand, exhaling with the other, pulling all that energy in the body down to that point. Now, do all the breathing through your nose if you can. Just do all the breathing through your nose. And I want you to relax. Don't think about anything but the rhythm of your breathing. When you feel comfortable enough, I want you to say to yourself, I am seeing a reflection of myself. I am seeing a reflection of myself. I am seated in front of my spiritual, divine, magnetic mirror where I can see myself. And I see myself as my higher self gazing upon me. And when you're ready, you're asking your higher self, which is you in divine essence, to reveal something about you into this emotional, mental, and physical body. Just let go. Just relax. Letting go all the tension out of your back, even if it means you got to move your shoulder blades together, got to roll your shoulders back, but you're still in a seated posture for meditation. You didn't mess with that. You just still seated there. You move your wrists. You can do that as well. Just enjoy, just relax. And don't let anything external disturb this exercise because you're here to release, which means to let go. And I want you to let go whatever impression that comes up inside. It could be a positive one, but I want you to let go of it for now. Why? Because if the positive came up that fast, that means right behind it is a whole bunch of nonsense that you need to get out, some fears and doubts that you need to shush out of your system. So just feel it for a moment. Continue to breathe. And in this breathing, as you inhale through the nose, you can release the breath through the mouth. And then as you get into that third and fourth and fifth range of breathing, you're inhaling through the nose, but exhaling it through the nose. Or just go into inhale through the nose, following it, leading the breath up into the brain, behind your eyes, let it go through the nose. You might have to inhale just a tad again. Wherever you stopped in your awareness could be right about here, you see. Right in there, inhale, let it out some more. One more time, a full inhalation in the way that's comfortable for you. Exhale, because you feel it in your lungs. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now you just continue to inhale and exhale gently for yourself. As you do that, I want you to ask your higher self. Your higher self is not only here, back in here, but your higher self is in your heart center. Place your awareness in the center of your sternum. Behind there is the heart chamber. Take your time inhaling and exhaling through your heart. And as you get into this point, I want you to really pay attention to what you feel that your higher self is revealing to you. Now, when you do this in the beginning, the higher self may say, okay, you're not ready for me to reveal everything. So I'm going to give you snippets, like a postal stamp or a small gemstone, a gem that you would hold in your hand. Now, many of you who will listen to this and replay this later, you might say, well, if I say, ask for my higher self to reveal something to me, suppose I don't get anything. But here's the very interesting factor. Just because you didn't see it and you didn't feel it, that doesn't mean the higher self didn't reveal it to you. Because weeks later or hours later, 72 hours later, 108 hours later, your higher self had already planted something inside of you. And it begins to materialize, come out on the outside of you. So when you do this meditation, you are what? A reflection. You are a mirror. You are a remembrance of your higher self. You are the reflection of your higher self walking here on earth. You are the reflection of your higher self embracing you, telling you it's going to be okay, taking your tears. The higher self has a way of connecting with you. Yes, it can connect with you deep down at the DNA level, but it can connect with you beyond that level. Then you might say, well, how's that possible? You're just spirit in action on earth. You're expressing divinity in action on earth. Therefore, as your higher self, you're an internal reflection that's infinite in its presence. That's why there's billions and trillions of people on the planet. No two are alike unless they're twins, triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, you name it. Other than that, they don't look nothing like each other. They may act a little bit like mom and dad, but they are not mom and dad. People often have asked me, well, hey, I had a dream that I was Nefertiti or I was Akhenaten. Well, they're fully aware that, yeah, you could have a dream of being them, but you are not them. Akhenaten would often say to me, no one should want to be me. And I say in a dream, well, why not? He says, okay, I've got wounds on me from the Amun priesthood trying to poison me, trying to kill me, threatening Nefertiti to do the same. And Nefertiti said, okay, I'm going to do it, but she knew darn well poison ain't going to work with me. But she had to relay that message through her eyes and the way that she touched me to let me know that they sent her there specifically to harm me. But I'm prepared. So meditation prepares your mind to properly interpret what you see with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, what you feel through your fingers and your feet throughout your body. Your body is that much aware. Your higher self dwells in you, so it definitely is aware of who you are. Saying, tag, you're it, you're me. So people tell me often, I was Nefertiti in a past life. Well, we can round up 1,000 women from different cultures, and they will tell you they were Nefertiti. Now what? Men say I was Akhenaten. Round up a whole bunch from New York City, all the major cities, and then some across the world. And then people go, well, how is that possible? They all know what they don't understand is Akhenaten, Nefertiti, Osiris, the one whose name I can't pronounce, she's a woman, starts with an H and ends with a T. Anyhow, it's like I explain it like this. You are not your mother or your father, but you have traits and personalities like them, but yet you are not them. You might look like your mother from upper lip down. You might look like your father from the bridge of the nose up in the shape of the head, but you are not exactly your mother or your father. So the same is true with all of these ascended masterminds. You can only be a part, which means Akhenaten will drop 25% on you, 30%, but more like 10 to 15% of his energy. So he doesn't what? Take and absorb your energy. He's not here to take your energy. He's here to make you do the work. Same with Nefertiti. Same with Ramses the second or the third. Same with Thoth. Same with Thutmose, the first or the second. Same with Amenhotep, the third or the fourth. They're here to make you do the work so that you become free of them, but you have them resourced at some point within your consciousness, but you are not them. So when you do this special creative pathwork meditation, we do it a little faster. Inhale, light, feel the presence of light coming through your veins and your muscles and your bones, and then exhale it out. Shake the hands out. Do it again. Just inhale through the nose. Think about the pit of your stomach. Think of your sacral chakra. Now let it out. This time, just maintain a slow, rhythmic pace of breathing through the nose, in and out. Relax your shoulders. And you can just repeat the words. Release. Now, who are you talking to? You're talking to your body to release, to let go. Just relax. Then tell yourself, after you say release, then stay in the heart center, say reveal, reveal, reveal. Just keep breathing, repeating that in your mind. Release, reveal, release, reveal. And then say to yourself when you're ready in that greater comfort zone, be real, be real. So release, reveal. And just enjoy the moment. Embrace yourself. Love yourself. There's only one of you. There's only one of you. There's only one of you. Keep breathing. And as you let go and release, reveal, and receive being the real you, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you very much. You'll be able to replay this podcast, this program, within the next 10 minutes because it's recording. We've been on for an hour and 22 minutes. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey, founder of Circle Grace One. I'm associated here with Resonant Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics. If you're ever here, out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico on a Saturday, you'll want to come to 2703. The address numbers on the top of the building, sand beige building with a dark, like caramel brown numbers. So it'll say 2703, but you're going to come into Broadbent Parkway off of Manoa, drive in and go to the right behind Carrington College and follow the roadway all the way around. Look for the numbers on the top of the building. You see a few cars out there, and that's where you want to head to. Right to the corner of the parking lot. Get out the car and walk about 20 steps to Suite J. Suite, Suite J, here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, zip code 87107, or go to the website www.resonantessentials.com. And the first page is going to come up is the calendar. You can see every event or what's going on during the week. I'm there every Saturday, usually every Saturday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for simple fee of $10 per class each week. Just sit down and sit and meditate with me and let me show you how. I have a small group, but we're an active small group, and you're going to like that. People of different ages sitting in there meditating, learning how to meditate with me. And I do something called self um, guided meditation, meaning I'll tell the students to pick something that they like to focus on, and they can go into it and have their experience. The goal of this type of meditation, creative pathwork meditation, is to get you to have what is called a radiant heart. Don't want to plug it, but I have to plug it. 7 amazing pathways to connect, activate, and communicate with your higher self. This is what your meditation is about, getting you to the point to connect activate, communicate with your higher self, not someone else's, your higher self, which then can take you into other levels. So I want to thank you for your time. There's so many different events going on that you should, if you want to connect with the other practitioners and get a reading by remote, just look up preferred practitioners or practitioners on the web page on one of the links going across, and you can get started. Preferred businesses, there's two of them. Connect that way as well. So that happens when you're on a Saturday. You can catch different things happening. Usually, every second Sunday, we have a psychic fair from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the readings like $30 for 20 minutes. But you can step in there. Some people are doing something slightly different too from that. But just come on down and connect with us. If you're ever here in the good old state of New Mexico, in the city of Albuquerque, or the entire state, what is the phrase? The land of enchantment. So come on in if you'd like to. We'd like to meet you. I would like to meet you live. I do many other things. So email me at iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. And I'll get back in touch with you within about 24 hours or less. I'm always checking emails. Well, everybody that's on here, thank you. From I'm a Delta 94. I know who that is. That's Rochelle. Holly Hemmett. I know who that is. That's Holly Hemmett. I'm also going to say, might be some people in the background watching. So, Melanie Hall, thank you. Melanie is way out in Australia, everybody. Also, who could be on here? Jovita could be on here, and she's from Ireland or Lithuania. She could be in here. Also, who could be in here? Jackie Fillmore could be here. Also, who could be here? Julie Tyndall could be here. Also, who could be here? Will Phillip could be in here. Corey Searles could be in here. Rosie Jefferson could be in here. Am I ringing them up? Yeah, I am. I know she's in here. Here. Who else is ringing up? Barbara Ewing could be here. Who else? Linda Garcia could be here. She's a wonderful fabric artist friend of mine out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Who else could be in here? Carol Hills could be in here. There's a lot of people. Ray Heitman may pop through. Uh, Luis Suarez may pop through. Uh, Ray and Lewis, they belong to an international group that they started that developed into an international group of channelers, channeling galactic beings. And I'm one of them now. They connect with the hybrid children, as they call it. Those are the ones that have a connection to galactic remembrance and being here on the earth plane. Maybe I'll talk about that one day in a book. I remember as a child having dreams of being on a spacecraft and with many children, hundreds of children, and looking through the galaxies, and then having adults say, "Whoa, and you're going to Earth." What? I don't want to go to Earth. I like being on the ship. So there's a whole lot of things, a whole lot of experiences. Maybe I'll go on one day and I'll talk about crystals here because crystals are back very strong. Our bodies are getting lighter. That's why you might have headaches, have more energy to do things, have a lack of energy, have some fatigue going on, feel like you got to sleep forever. Other times you're not. You're just wide awake because Mother Earth, Gaia is changing, has been changing for a long time. She just didn't start now. She's been changing like for hundreds of years. And she's allowed us to be here to receive these remembrances about ourselves. So I'm going to sign off. I'm glad this is my first time in over maybe 4 or 5 weeks to come on and do a live podcast with you. And this podcast is called what? Clear Blue Radiance. The blue ray will get you to connect with Syrians, Akhenaten, and Nefertiti, and many others. This blue ray may come a little darker, but it will get you to connect. Why? Because it's throat chakra energy. And we got to communicate, we got to talk telepathically. So, right now, your cells are communicating, your cells are absorbing this remembrance from the teachings. It's on the inside getting the information and playing out through the rest of your body. We may also do in the near future here uh, something like quantum shifting or jumping, but it's more like jumping into other timelines. We're running consecutively with the one that you're in right now, where you can see yourself doing other things. And I've been experimenting, so I got a chance to see one of myself. And I'm like that one of myself. Does a lot of yapping. Myself in another dimension. That's all I do is talk, 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 talk. Woo! So I'm out of here. Thank you all for joining me. And again, if you have any questions, those of you know my phone number, I don't give it out in the podcast, but email me at iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. Many who will be that live out here in Albuquerque, we have a meditation class this Saturday, November the 22nd at 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 uh, p.m. And then, of course, I won't be here on the 29th because there will be a special uh, small business vendors fair going on. So they might have 10 or 12. If the weather is nice, they could be outside. I don't know. We might be getting some snow. So I think everybody will be occupying all of Resonant Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics with their tables, um, selling their goods. Okay. And then I'll be back on Saturday, December the 6th. And when I come back on Saturday, December the 6th, inside Resident Essentials, I'm going to give the meditation live 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And then I got a 30-minute rest spot because I'm going to be doing what I do once or twice a year for Resident Essentials and myself. I'm going to have what is called an afternoon of remembrance with Brother Francis. That's where we're going to rev up the energy in that room. It'll be about 25 to 30 people sitting in a big circle, nothing in the center, but a room for me to get into the center. And I'm going to charge it up with some sounds through my voice. And then I'm going to give a guided meditation to everybody. And I'm going to stay plugged into the guided meditation because at some point I'm going to bring them out. And then I'm going to go around the room and give a quick spot reading to each person sitting there. So if they don't want it, they'll keep their heads down and tell me no. But if they do, they'll flip on the phone so they can record the information that they're going to get. And depending on how many people are there, if there's at least a minimum of 10 people, then what will happen is they'll get a chance to ask a question. But when we got 20, 25 people, it can go a long period of time because I got to channel the information. I got to bring it into the center of the room. And then I get lit like a candle and I start reading everybody. But they can ask me after it's done. If you happen to be out here for it on December the 6th, which is a Saturday, it goes from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., sometimes just a tad longer, but it'll be for $30. So I had to get that information out for people who are out here in Albuquerque, who are in Los Lunas, who are in Rio Rancho, who are in Berlin, uh, Santa Fe, who will come to this event. Anyway, it's time for me to be quiet, go within myself, have a bite to eat. Take care of yourself, everybody. My grace is your grace. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. Look forward to seeing you soon again. And I hope to come back and do this live next Thursday. This is the Resident Essentials channel. I might do something later on today at Circle of Grace 1 YouTube channel. Might do some numerology, might do some dreams. But I'm going to take a little break right now. I might go on the Circle of Grace One YouTube channel in another hour or two, or I might wait a little bit, rest my voice, and then go on. Take care. Love you much. Bye now.